is Charlie Flow World Sports Show. I'm joined here with Jess King from Lewes FC. Jess, I want to thank you for joining me on the show today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you've been very busy. A lot of people during the situation we are doing a lot of personal training, that you'd sent me a message that you came out with a pretty cool rap song just about equality. Where did this inspiration come from, Jess?
Yeah, I've actually been writing for a really long time, but I haven't recorded in a while either. And I got talking with my roommate and some people from the club, and we kind of had this wild idea that I would write a song about equality and the club's initiative, Equality FC. And yeah, they connected me with the producer, Max Mesawave, who now we've worked together on the song, and he produced it. And yeah, it's kind of come since August to now, and we've been working on it collectively.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that has been discussed, and I love talking about it because we need to have that conversation much more than is had about just equality. That, Lewes FC is one of the the only first club that I know of that is paying women and men right down the middle, equal, equal rights, equal pay, like equal training grounds. I mean, how did you get involved signing with this club?
Yeah, I actually didn't know about this stance that Lewes had before I joined. So as soon as I did join, I heard about a lot of the stuff. There was a lot of off the pitch stuff going on and being talked about, and I really appreciated that the club had other values, not only winning obviously on the pitch, but also having an impact on the community and in the wider world of football. And yeah, it's something that I also adhere to and respect and value. So it was really nice to get involved in that sense.
No, I mean, it creates this camaraderie and unity amongst club, that I coach in the WPSL, and we have men and women's teams, and we do our best, to make sure that the men and women both get the equal amount of training grounds and training times and rights to facilities. And I'm sure you're just growing up as a child in England, just having to be forced to play with boys or having to get that pitch, when it's not convenient for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I spent most of my time playing in the street with the boys. When I was a kid, when I was playing for Liverpool, we trained once a week for an hour, and that was it. The rest of the time was spent in the playground or in the street after school playing football with the lads. And I think it did have a positive impact on me, but at the same time, it is nice to now see all of the female athletes and role models that have been created through sport and now on show through social media.
Now, like you said, like some of the people have inspired you throughout your career, like Mia Hamm, Jess King, and I think that's the big thing about the women's game, that I feel sometimes the women have to win everything to get the male side's attention, and it's unfortunate that we've had to have all these different talks to just ask for just the same, not more, not less, just the same. What did some of those athletes like Mia Hamm, Bridie Chastain, and some of the English players you grew up following, what did they do for you as a young child?
Yeah, I think just seeing somebody doing what you want to do it's really powerful, and especially when if you're a minority in something and you're seeing somebody that's like you doing what you want to do, I think that is very powerful. And seeing the 99ers, as they call them, win the World Cup and all of that around, and the league that followed on from that, and then the Kelly Smiths, Alex Scott, Rachel Yankee in England, they're the people that I really looked up to and aspired to be like. But we didn't have as much access to those people unless you were watching them play, as you might have now through social media or being able to watch on the telly or go to more games. England have played at Wembley and some other cool stadiums.
No, I think you hit it nail on the head with like the access that we have, that we live in a generation with social media, computers, the old traditional way of watching a football match on a television. It's still there, but we have so many different ways that leagues now have the ability to say, well, we don't have to be on TV. We can be on a YouTube, for example, or we can just broadcast straight from our Twitter. Because I remember, watching even when we had our second go around of professional league in America, WPS just trying to follow a feed on some internet page, or you're getting commentary just through text. And I'm sure
Yeah.
like that for a lot of young girls your age, trying to follow the American women's pro leagues via text message or somebody sending you an email. But I mean, it's really grown that, that we can access all these leagues in so many different formats, and it helps you get your voice out, because I discovered Lewes FC honestly through social media, so
Yeah.
it's neat that how you can expose yourself in a positive way.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I think, there's more and more leagues, for women that are developing and up and coming and having more access, more funding, more facilities. And I think it's awesome. And, I think it's going to continue to get like this, but it needs more and more support, more and more input, I think, to continue the growth that we've seen over the last decade or so to speak.
And you guys have a really cool program, with Lewes FC. I believe it's 40 pounds. You can kind of be technically an owner of the club. I mean, that's such a great thing that, to be able to financially support these women and men that are trying to make their ways. That's a very big thing, because we talk about living wages all the time. And that's a big thing, that it's not about necessarily making millions and millions a year, but it's just making a wage that you can pay your rent and pay your food.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, I think it is such a cool connection for somebody who supports the club to be able to have such an impact and know that you're contributing. And, it really does create that community feel. And, it doesn't matter whether you're in Lewes or whether you're in another country, you can still be a part of what they're trying to create and the vision that they uphold and their ambition. And, I think, yeah, the living wage is I guess open to interpretation, depending on what the club has access to and stuff. But I think it is so important, and it really does make a big difference having the ownerships. And I know they're pushing for more and more people to sign up to become owners to help that support.
No, it's so true, because that's the thing, is like, people want all these wages, but the money's got to come from somewhere. And
Yeah.
And we see on social media all the talk of equality. I want to support the men's game. I want to support the women's game. I want to support everything football. But when you open that door up to letting people invest and say, I've got, 40 pounds, I've got, this amount, I've got a few dollars here and there, or a few pounds here and there, a few euros, that all those little bits add up. Because I'm starting to see that there's some clubs in America trying to get these ideas that you can buy season tickets for a football club, but maybe you live out of state, you don't live anywhere close, but you want to donate those tickets to give to like charity. Those are some things that
Right.
really kind of researched and looked into, that, there are ways that small people like me can just donate a few dollars here and there, but it all adds up.
Right. Right. And I think that's one thing about Lewes, they're looking at now, but they're also looking at the bigger picture. They're making moves now, but it is to hopefully trickle through to the bigger picture and to add to their ambition. And we do need the support of other people and other investors, but it's something cool that you can feel like we're all in this together. We're all trying to move this vision forward, and I think it is very unique in that sense.
So you joined them and played with them. What has that experience been like, just putting on the kit, and playing for Lewes?
Yeah, it's really nice to play for a club that you really are passionate about playing. Obviously, you give 100% no matter who you're playing for. But the game day atmosphere is really special and really unique at Lewes, and something that I really enjoy. And yeah, they've just created a really passionate environment, and we're trying to build off that. And I think this year we really tried to embrace and push forward our values as a team, as a small team, and then also as a whole club, really.
No, it's great what you're doing, because obviously it's inspired somebody like me all the way here in Philadelphia in the United States, that it's given me ideas on ways, to help my women's team and our women's team here in Philadelphia, ways that, to create ways to raise funds and pay for things, because, football is not free, you got referees, permits, and all those things that we have to cover before we even walk on the pitch, so
Right.
definitely hopefully it creates that snowball effect that other clubs can draw inspiration from you guys. And I'm sure you've heard those kind of messages. And what has that been like, just probably receiving those positive messages? You're playing for a club that has equality involved.
Yeah, I think it is very rare, and I think, every club will be different. You might go to one club and they give you access to this or this, and I think Lewis's core values is really something unique. Starting with, we want to invest the same into the women and the men. They play on the same pitch. They have access to the same things, and I think other people can definitely, yeah, take notice of that. But I think it might be a slow trickle effect, but I think it definitely can be implemented in other ways and into other clubs for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I want to talk about your career. You were raised
Yeah,
in Liverpool and you played a little bit in Liverpool.
yeah,
You went over to Vancouver for college.
yeah.
How did that all happen? I guess you got recruited by the coach there.
Yeah, it was kind of through a family friend who knew the coach out there, and he happened to be traveling through England, and he watched me play, and I also did a few visits to the US, for colleges there, but I ended up going there, so I spent 4 seasons there, or 5 seasons there even, and before moving back to England to play for Everton.
No, I mean, what was that experience like? Just being in a North America university system where we in North America, a lot of our universities are kind of based around really good sport programs.
Yeah, I loved it. I really, really loved it. I think it was a massive change for me, obviously moving countries and, at a young age, but I think just, the change in style of play, athleticism, implementing the strength training, all new things that I really think help added to my game, and the passion and dedication to the schools that people have. Like, I really loved that, and my teammates became like my family, and I really learned a lot, obviously because I was getting my education, but also just as a person and just about the world and learning so many new things. So I really enjoyed that and look back as one of my favorite times in my life for sure.
No, that's a very, very key part. You said getting your education. That's something I
Yeah,
really push a lot of footballers to do, even if you're playing at a professional level. With the day and age with online education, I think it's very key and crucial that athletes get also some type of formal education, because you never know what could
yeah.
happen in your football career.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's good to be able to do both. I feel very fortunate to be able to have been playing full time every day with some of my best friends and getting my education for free. And, I'm very thankful for that. And, sometimes I've questioned, maybe if I'd stayed in England, maybe I could have stayed on with Liverpool, or, but you can't think like that. And I'll never regret the decisions that I've made. And, I've had such great experiences and met some unbelievable people. So, but I really do think, having something else, or, a backup plan, will help in the future, especially for the women who might not have, hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars saved up from their playing career. I think having at least a plan of your next step or what you're going to do while you're playing, I think is very, very important.
No, that's great. You did play in the WPSL, you told me, for a while. Tell me about your experience playing the WPSL.
Yeah, that was actually the summer after I was at Everton, and I played with the ISC Gunners in Seattle, and I really loved it there. I loved the community. I loved the club. I had a host family, and I'm still in contact with them a lot. It was a really fun time in my life. Yeah, but that was just for one season I've played there. I haven't managed to get back yet, but I have considered it.
No, it's great. It's great
Yeah,
to have those connections. These are the conversations I have with a lot of footballers that contact me, and conversation I'm sure you have with friends and teammates about, just that there's a lot of different factors that you have to look at when you're going into a situation, that it's not necessarily about the pay or the not pay. It's like you said, you got a really good host family, and then with Lewes,
yeah.
the equalities there. I think these are all the details I tell footballers that you really have to look at. You don't just look at the contract with the amount of money you're going to get paid. You have to look at all the underlying issues.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's really true, especially in women's football. Things like, do you have access to a gym? Obviously there with the Gunners, I had access to a really nice gym, which was also important. Having access to physio. How often can you see the physio if you need it? What's the protocol for injuries? And even there's been a little bit of talk not so long ago for a well-known goalie about maternity leave and stuff, because it's kind of an uncharted territory, but obviously it's something that's relevant in women's football. So I think there's a lot of factors that kind of play into it, especially you know for females. Asking lots of questions and really understanding the environment that you're going into, because I think it is important, especially if you're moving away from home or you're not around your friends and your family. I think it is something that is very important.
No, I feel like you and I could probably do a whole show just based on, all the different things there. And I think that just goes across the board for any footballer, male or female, that don't get blinded by the badge, don't get blinded by the contract. Just look at the environment you put in. Because you and I hear all the time in all the different sports broadcasts, all these unhappy athletes. And then we say, how are you unhappy? You're making millions a year. But then you look at all the things underneath there, the way
Yeah.
they or may not treat them, or just their training facilities. So, and we hear it all the time. So it's just one thing I'd love to try to tell footballers: research, find out about your club, have those conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So back here playing, in the UK, you did have some stops in Europe. I believe you played in
Yep.
Switzerland. Where else did you do some pro playing?
Yeah, I played for FC Basel, which I really enjoyed. My coach actually couldn't speak English, and obviously I couldn't speak German when I went there, so that was pretty fun, learning the language and kind of getting over that obstacle. So definitely a question that I would ask if you go into a foreign country. And then I was in Germany for a season in the Bundesliga, which was awesome. Some top competition there, Bayern, Wolfsburg, the top teams. And then I had a very short stint in Oslo with Kolbotn in Norway, because their season's from March until November. So I went for the back end of their season after I was in Germany.
Now, what has all of this experience been like? You've obviously got to see different styles of play, different languages, different stadiums. Everywhere
Yeah.
you go, it's probably a different style of play too. So you have to adjust your game as a player.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's easier than others. Also how the coaches coach, how much information and detail they give. Also the translations. If, sometimes I think the players maybe who are translating from me to English aren't saying everything. That if the coaches just talk for 10 minutes and they tell me one sentence, I don't really think, that I'm getting the full gist. So it is, it's challenging in a way, but, it's not something that you can't get over. Like, some of my teammates in Switzerland couldn't speak English at all, and we still got on really well. And I had to go to German lessons 3 times a week. So then when I could speak a little bit, I would try and speak, and just try and get involved and put yourself out there in the culture a little bit. And you learn how to interact with people from different cultures and mannerisms, what's polite, what's rude, because it is different, even though it's in Europe and that. So it has been a really awesome experience. Like, living in Oslo, it was a big city, but at Basel I was quite near the center, and then Jena in Germany was a small town a couple of hours from Berlin.
Now, I think you hit the nail on the head about the communication thing. That
Yeah,
even within me and you both speaking English as our first language, that we talk about that a lot from different coaching staffs, that trying to create that universal communication, that every
yeah,
coach is kind of communicating the same type of message to the player. So when the players are on the pitch, they're communicating,
yeah.
all the different, hand gestures and simple things, because there are times where even within our own language, you might get confused.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think, especially in English, you might have different, what people call football language, how a coach might express something. And yeah, I think the styles of play are all different. So I think it is important to kind of get to the root of, what the coach really wants. But I guess that's all part of football, as well as kind of problem solving and, working together. So I think, yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, we do live in a great time and age with technology. That's the cool thing that
Mhm.
I've been coaching for, I'm going to age myself for about 18 years. So
Yeah,
I still am very old school. I still draw out some of my training sessions on a piece of paper, and bring it to the
yeah,
session. So technology's improved where, old school football, I'd have to create my little session and, there's no way to get it to my players until we get on the pitch. But now you have all these different online tablets where I can just literally say, hey, Jess, we're going to work on building on the back today. I just emailed you the session today. We're going to work on this for an hour. So it's not, the language barrier is kind of removed there, because then we have the visual
yeah,
aspect that the players are starting
yeah,
to learn. And then the number system, you may only have to memorize 11 numbers in German. So, all right, I'm playing the 7 today, so I know where the 7 is.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. The visual, especially, a lot of players might learn differently. So some people could listen for 20 minutes and take everything in and then translate that onto the pitch. And then some people stop listening after a few minutes. But if you're up there with the board or with, looking at a session plan, I think that will really hit home with some people. So yeah, when I'm coaching, a lot of the time I'll write things down. But also I found helpful with a board. Um, if especially when I've been in foreign countries, to have a board just to know if that's me and this happens, I have to go there, or So I think utilizing all the different things and tools that are out there is important and helpful.
no, I'm very much a visual learner, and credit to my coaches back in the day. There were times where I would honestly zone out, and it's a thing that we
Yeah,
talk about with especially young footballers. That I'm obviously a lot older and mature now, but I mean, you got to put yourself in a little kid's boots, that after a certain few
yeah,
minutes, just people tune you out. And I try to tell
yeah,
all the coaches that you can rant and rave all you want at halftime, but sometimes you got to be short and sweet. 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
said you did some coaching. I mean, that's pretty cool. I didn't know you did that. What ages do you work with, Jess?
Yeah, I've done a lot of different stuff really over the years. I started when I was in college. Just we had like an academy, or we do summer camps and stuff. And then I worked a little bit with the Vancouver Whitecaps, with the younger girls there. So that I really enjoyed that, and that's kind of where I started to really love coaching, and kind of realized that that's something I also wanted to pursue. And currently, I work with Lewes FC's men's football therapy team, which is a mental health initiative from the club. So once a week, we have an hour with the guys, and I run the sessions. So that's really fun. Something different working with men as opposed to young girls. Um, so yeah, I've had a lot of different ages, and mainly with girls, but this time with a men's group.
Now, doing this, obviously, you've become kind of a role model, inspiration to young little girls that now have a lot more opportunities in the game that you have when you were their age. I mean, how does it feel when you see a little girl look up to you, and even a young boy look up to you? How does that make you feel? You're technically a role model.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't really think about being a role model, but you just want. I just try and focus on helping them enjoy football and feel confident to try new things. And I think you can see the impact that you have on the kids. If they're smiling, and a lot of them are always happy to see you when they're really young, and it's nice just helping kind of foster or facilitate that love for football. And that's kind of really what you want to see, especially at such a young age, is just them loving the game and wanting to be there around their peers and just learning. Yeah, so it is a pretty cool aspect of coaching.
Where you're going to inspire a new breed, Jess, because you have that track that just came out, raise us up, excuse me.
Yeah,
You're rapping about equality, and you're a footballer, so you're going to create this kind of degree that all of us growing up, we wanted to be rappers, we wanted to be footballers. You're doing both, so it's like you're even like an inspiration to me, because I think it's really cool because of the positivity of that song. Um, let's play that song here on the show, and then after
yeah.
we play it, we'll come back and we'll recap it and talk about it. Um, I'll let you talk about debuting it right here in North America, so you can go ahead and introduce your song and tell a little bit about it, and we'll play it.
Awesome. So this song is called Raise Us Up, and it's about equality in women's football. And I hope that it really reaches a lot of people and inspires people to keep playing and keep pursuing their dreams.
Come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up. Come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up. We're fighting for our dreams cause we just wanna play. So we're here to take a stance on disparity and pay, cause some are working and balling just to make ends meet. But we've been keeping up even with no time to sleep. So don't sleep on us because the time is now. We're good in our own right and the world is seeing how. Saying wow when they're engaging throughout the world stage. Saying it's amazing, yeah. But we've been trapped in this cage of a double standard wage. But we're breaking out, proving our worth, making the change. Cause it can't stay the same in this progressivism age. And the line that's done us proud on the world stage. And even with no support, the movement has come far. Now we got them lionesses on the world stage being stars. They bought into the vision and they capture people's hearts. Changes in the making and this is only the start. So come on then, come on then. Come on then, come on then. So come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up. Now the flame has been ignited and it's never gonna go out. Be part of the movement to keep bringing change about. Even though they try, they're never gonna keep us out. Come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up now. Never gonna keep us out, keep us out. Our strength has been abundant, perseverance consistent. We've been waiting to use our voice and now the world will listen. We do it for the love, for the love of the game. All the time and effort and the sacrifices made. I'm not saying that we should get paid the same. I'm just saying that I really want a living wage. With that struggle, keep it real, it's all about respect. How is that such a difficult concept? Tell me how there's only one club in the world that pays men and women equal. Tell me how that's fair. And I know that it's not always realistic, but it's just about respect and not being diminished. Our graft and our passion for the game is not a limit. It's the exact thing from the men that really makes us different. Thank you to the women of the past trailblazing. It started with you and now the progress is contagious. I had a few role models that I did aspire to, and I hope that my life can inspire too. Rachel Yankee, Alex Scott, Kelly Smith, Mia Hamm, Michelle Akers, always doing bits. The influence to risk has made the change for the kids. The impact at the time, but they never imagined this. So come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up. Now the flame has been ignited and it's never gonna go out. Be part of the movement to keep bringing change about. Even though they try, they're never gonna keep us out. Come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up now. Never gonna keep us out, keep us out. So come on then, come on then. So come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up now. The flame has been ignited and it's never gonna go out. Be part of the movement to keep bringing change about. Even though they try, they're never gonna keep us out. So come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up now.
We're back here on World Sports Show. I'm joined with Jess King. Lewes FC just had a really cool song come out called Raise Us Up. Love the lyrics, love the positivity. You said you kind of started doing this and working on this back in August of last year?
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't long after the World Cup, I think, and there was a lot of positive reaction from the Women's World Cup in England, and I think that's kind of where the idea came from. My roommate kind of said, well, why don't you just, look at the positivity and the momentum that's kind of coming with women's football, like use your words to help that. And obviously I've been writing for a long time, but I haven't really put anything out there and pushed it, so yeah, it's something that we've been working on for a while, but that's kind of where it started.
Now, you said who you're working with, Max. You said you were working with a producer?
Yeah, Max Meserwave, yeah. He's we got connected via the club, and it was a little bit nerve-wracking working with somebody else. I haven't been in the studio for a while, but we connected really well and clicked straight away, and he really cares about what we wanted to get out of the song, and so it was nice working with somebody who also really cared about women's football and the opportunities that we're getting.
No, it's true. I think you hit the nail on the head again there about working with people that have the same vision and agreements and same, long-term goals and support you. I mean, that makes a huge difference. Yeah,
definitely helps, to keep it moving forward when everyone's kind of on the same page and got the same the same ambition and wants the same outcome.
And there is a music video, so I know you guys just heard the song here on the radio show, but there also is a music video. What was that experience like,
Right.
filming that?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was a little bit reluctant at first. I was like, just get the song out, just get the song out. But I think I did have to listen to people that knew a little bit more than I do, and just kind of say, yeah, you know what, maybe it'll have more of an impact if people can see something as well. And I think it's really cool, and it definitely adds another element to the song. So I'm really happy that that I did listen, and we made that, and we did a bunch of different shots, and yeah, so I think it's cool, and that definitely adds another element to what we're getting at.
No, it's great. It's great lyrics, great inspiration. I mean, I'm a father to a young daughter, and just
Yeah.
seeing young women do things like this, on the football pitch, off the football pitch, getting your education. It's such a, that day and age that, as a woman, you can do every single thing a male can do. And hey, obviously you can do a lot better than me because I can't rap. So, it's going to be kind of neat because you can be recognized on two different fronts. I mean, the paparazzi is going to be coming at you from two different angles. You're going to be a rapper and a footballer. So it's going to be neat that you may be recognized as the rapper. And then you say, oh, I also play football.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like I've mentioned, I'm a little bit shy just with my music and everything, but obviously this is something that I'm passionate about, and I'm willing to kind of put myself out there for everybody. It's not, I've had this conversation a couple of times where people are like, don't worry about about yourself. What, like, you are doing something for the greater good of everyone. You're using your words and reaching people in a different way. And when I looked at it like that, I was more willing to then step out and kind of allow it to be put out there, so that people will talk about it and hopefully address it a little bit more, and recognize what we've been through, what we have, and what we need in the future. And yeah, so I mean, I don't know what's going to happen or in regards to that, but I'm just excited for it to hit a lot of different people.
No, it's great. So when do you find yourself, writing some of your lyrics? I know footballers can have a very glamorous life, but also there's a lot of time that you're on the road and you're on buses, planes, and you're just kind of, you got a lot of that me time, alone time that, you can just do a lot of thinking.
Yeah. I definitely, it's something that I enjoy to do, to kind of get away from football or other aspects of life, and just, if you're always having to be on, you go to training, you have to be 100%. It's always focused, like you said about being a role model. People are kind of watching you, how you conduct yourself, and this is kind of just a way to kind of be free, and just helps me understand myself a little bit, helps me get out what I'm passionate about and articulate some things in a different way. It's creativity, and I enjoy being creative on the pitch, and this is kind of just another branch of that, really. So there is a lot of time to do it, and a lot of reflection time, and I think, as a person, I need that, and that's why I've been able to use some of my time to write.
Now, I talk to players, a lot of youth players and even high level players, about, like, it's not always about go in your sport. Everybody wants to be the best at what they do, especially if it's their profession, what they do for a living, because it's their bread and butter. It's how they pay their bills. But I think it's very healthy, to have hobbies and even second career like path on the side. So sometimes you got to, I'll tell players and coaches, step away from the game. Sometimes you need to just clear your mind, because believe it or not, I don't watch as much football as the average football coach, because I think there's times where you need to have a second thing to just not think about football.
I agree with that. I think it's definitely healthy to have a balance, or make sure you spend some time with friends, or go on a hike, or just whatever you kind of find fulfilling, that's kind of away from the game, away from the workouts and the game analysis and everything, all those little things. I think it is important to refresh your mind and your body to then come back to the game and be at your best.
So during these difficult times, what are you doing personally to train? I know you say you have a roommate. Have you guys been doing a lot of working out together?
Yeah, just running, trying to just stay fit, run as much as possible. And now I've managed to get hold of some weights everybody's outbidding each other on eBay on the weight. So I finally managed to get some. So that's been a good implementation to the training, and yeah, just trying to be as prepared as I can, for whenever we can come back.
That's a good way too. Also, I've been talking to players about just reading up on the game, learning the tactical side of the game, and even as a coach, educating yourself on the game. There's so many opportunities we have in this bad situation that we can make ourselves mentally better as footballers too.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I've been watching some of the games back, and it's good to be kind of out of the momentum of the season to kind of see, okay, well, I actually did a lot better than I thought, or okay, this is happening in every game, I need to work on this in the off season, or there's been a lot of webinars with the coaches, and kind of soaking up knowledge and stuff that can help make you better. I think it's definitely another aspect of growing as a player and a coach.
And I mean, this is also a time where I'm getting to know a lot of players on a personal level, because I'm constantly doing Zoom chats with my youth teams, and just I think it's a way that I'm getting to learn about the personal side of their lives, about what makes them tick as a person.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's also good. A lot of people are different and respond differently and need different things from their coaches and from their peers, and I think it's not as much one size fits all anymore, how it might have been, in the past when I was growing up. It's a little bit more adaptive. So I think it is also good to kind of get to know each other a little bit better, and so we can help each other be better.
Yeah, and it's also opened up eyes, I think, for a lot of people in this world that spend so much time go traveling to and from work, and I'm realizing I can have some technical sessions online now, instead of having all of my players come into a central location and meet for an hour. And it takes them an hour to get to the location. That's 3 hours out of their day. But if we can sit here and have a chat on the internet, and I can send you all the documentation and do video review on the line, I think it's created a whole nother realm for players and coaches to get their message across to their players without them. I mean, you get to stay in your home. You would love to have a tactical session from your house.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, and I think maybe it will, obviously once we've come out of this and can kind of figure out how we're going to move forward from this, in the world, I think it definitely can have a positive contribution to, how we do things, in team environments.
Now, Jess, I want to really thank you for your time. I want to thank you for reaching out and sharing your song, Raise Us Up. Yeah. We'll play it here again on the show as we're exiting this interview. But no, thank you for all you're doing. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for everything your club does, to just inspire people like me and inspire, my daughter, get her boots sharpened up, get her to play for you guys one day.
That would be awesome.
Again, thank you, Jess King, here with Lewes FC. Everything you do, appreciate. If you need anything from us, let us know.
Thank you. Yeah, really appreciate you having me on.
World Sports Show, Charlie Flo with Jess King. We're signing off.
Come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up. Come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up. We're fighting for our dreams cause we just wanna play. So we're here to take a stance on disparity and pay, cause some are working and balling just to make ends meet. But we've been keeping up even with no time to sleep. So don't sleep on us because the time is now. We're good in our own right and the world is seeing how. Saying wow when they're engaging throughout the world stage. Saying it's amazing, yeah. But we've been trapped in this cage of a double standard wage. But we're breaking out, proving our worth, making the change. Cause it can't stay the same in this progressivism age. On the line, let's stun us proud on the world stage. And even with no support, the movement has come far. Now we got them lionesses on the world stage being stars. They bought into the vision and they capture people's hearts. Changes in the making and this is only the start. So come on then, come on then. Come on then, come on then. So come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up. Now the flame has been ignited and it's never gonna go out. Be part of the movement to keep bringing change about. Even though they try, they're never gonna keep us out. Come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up now. Never gonna keep us out, keep us out. Our strength has been abundant, perseverance consistent. We've been waiting to use our voice and now the world will listen. We do it for the love, for the game. All the time and effort and the sacrifices made. I'm not saying that we should get paid the same. I'm just saying that I really want a living wage. With that struggle, keep it real, it's all about respect. How is that such a difficult concept? Tell me how there's only one club in the world that pays men and women equal. Tell me how that's fair. And I know that it's not always realistic, but it's just about respect and not being diminished. Our graft and our passion for the game is not a limit. It's the exact thing from the men that really makes us different. Thank you to the women of the past trailblazing. It started with you and now the progress is contagious. I had a few role models that I did aspire to, and I hope that my life can inspire too. Rachel Yankee, Alex Scott, Kelly Smith, Mia Hamm, Michelle Akers, always doing bits. The influence to risk has made a change for the kids. The impact at the time, but they never imagined this. So come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up. Now a flame has been ignited and it's never gonna go out. Be part of the movement to keep bringing change about. Even though they try, they're never gonna keep us out. Come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up now. Never gonna keep us out, keep us out. So come on then, come on then. So come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up now. A flame has been ignited and it's never gonna go out. Be part of the movement to keep bringing change about. Even though they try, they're never gonna keep us out. So come on, raise us up, raise us up, raise us up now.
This is Charlie Flo, World Sports Show. I'm joined with Adam Bruckner. Adam, I want to thank you for joining me tonight on World Sports Show. How are things with you?
Well, it's a little complicated in this new world, but it's good to be sitting talking soccer as a distraction.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing about us old heads. We can talk soccer till the cows come home, literally. So I mean, you've got some writing. You've been, you sent me a little preview copy, and I just wanted to kind of touch base on some of the writing you've been doing. I mean, we do have a lot of downtime and got a chance to look at one of your new books that'll be coming out called Soccer Rats. What was your reasoning, inspiration, and why you decided to do this?
It was probably harder to come up with a title than to come up with the want to do it. So, I was lucky enough to play soccer at all levels, from little kid up to the professional level with the Kixx and then the Pennsylvania Roar and some other teams. But along the way, I met just such interesting characters, and there were so many different players that did so many wild things for the game. It was just I just tried to tell the story of at the different levels, the way the game gets in our bones and just makes you do these crazy things. Some people have great sacrifices. Some people have wild superstitions, and there's just something about this beautiful, crazy game of ours that I wanted to try and put into a story form that like-minded people might enjoy.
No, it's great. I've read bits and pieces of it, and it's something it's hard to put down, because it's for a lot of us that, were born like in the 70s, like myself, that we didn't really grow up with a professional, really, really high-level professional league, that a lot of the younger generation doesn't even realize the MLS didn't even start till 96, and even that took a few years to get off the ground to where it was like a really high-level league that players could make livable salaries. So, as a kid, I remember collecting indoor trading cards. You can probably remember this, like the game kid. People ask me, "Want to play for?" I want to play for the Baltimore Blast, and that wasn't the lunch table conversation every kid had. But it is interesting that you playing in all these different leagues and Milwaukee Waves, and you play, they're just like household names in certain parts of the country.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to come along at a time when the indoor league was called the NPSL and then MISL, and it was a really strong league, so I really struggled to get in it. But, growing up, we had a team in Milwaukee, so I got to see professional indoor soccer. But we didn't have games on television. I probably watched a couple games in the 86 World Cup and then the 90, 94, but there weren't qualifiers on TV, and there was no EPL and obviously no MLS. And so the only soccer we ever got to watch was indoor, or we'd get the highlight tape of the 86, 90, 94 World Cup, and we would just watch those goals over and over and over again. And now, on your phone, you can click and get more content in 30 seconds than what we had in, almost the first 30 years of my life.
No, I think you brought me back to my old, middle school, high school days of that kid, whoever had that VHS tape, that's over. whatever highlights it were from. That was a very valuable cassette tape, and that was for DVD days, kids out there and fans listening, that those things would get a lot of mileage on them.
Oh, Gola. I mean, I can, Socrates, and I remember all these guys, and I can still see some of the goals in my mind's eye, just watching and replaying. And you become a better player by being exposed to better soccer. So I think the kids now must just have so much more talent just by the things that they've seen other players do. And for us, you really had to go and search out soccer games. When I was 14, we went to a tournament in Florida, and we had an 8 o'clock game and a 4 o'clock game in the afternoon. And after the 8 a.m. game, I stayed at the park. Everybody else went back to the hotel and swam or took a nap, went out to eat. I think I was 13. And I just stayed at the field all day and just watched other kids play soccer. It was just so in me to do that. And, brought a pretzel and some cheese for lunch, played the 4 o'clock game, and was super sunburned. But, now you would never need to do anything like that to watch soccer. So, it's really impossible to explain how crazy it is that the MLS is so big in especially a couple of the East Coast cities with Portland and Seattle. I mean, it was unthinkable that the MLS would take off when we were younger, because we played and got teased about it at football schools. And then, no one came to your games. No one went to college games, really. The U.S. national team wouldn't get much of a blip around. And so the MLS came on, and it was, the MLS was paying ESPN at first to have their games. I'm quite sure about that. And then, now it's, it's right up there. People love it. It's I know a lot of people who like soccer, who watch a lot more soccer than I do.
No, I think it's just the exposure and educating people about this beautiful game that, grew all around us, around the world. But, we're a country, like you mentioned, American football. And, I'm from a town, Newport News, Virginia, that's just a basketball and football town. I mean, playing in these massive stadiums that were, chewed up by football teams, but lucky if you got just basically it was our parents and friends in the stands. They weren't going out of the way to watch soccer in the 90s and 80s, and just, but and the thing is, we never even cared to look up in the stadium. And I'm sure you didn't care who was there. It was your teammates that are moderating, and that locker room being buses. That's what you played for.
Yeah. I think back on it now and how much those games meant to me when I was 15 and 16. And then, I was fortunate enough to play in front of huge crowds later on in life, but it was the passion I had as a 15-year-old. Our celebrations weren't for the fans. Like you said, there are 37 people there, and you feel like you still get those electric shivers. You still get those glory moments. And, and even those 37 people, I remember running down the field and yelling like scoreboard. Like I'm embarrassed at the thought, right? Of like talking trash to the away team's 24 fans and our 13 fans that came out. So, yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, just what was it like growing up in the Milwaukee area? Because Milwaukee Wave was one of the old school teams that had some records of being one of the longest standing teams, and then being able to play in college and then eventually go to that pro level, that because that was a hard league to crack into. You were saying.
Yeah, I mean the talent level of indoor soccer is exceptional. And there's been a good number of MLS players that have not been able to make the transition over. Even Landon Donovan, he plays in the league now. He played after he retired. He played in Mexico a little bit, and he came over. Now he's with the San Diego Sockers. He's played a couple seasons. I think maybe just played one the end of last season. And he wasn't a star. It was really hard for him to learn the game, and he had some goals and some assists, but he was by no means a standout because it's so much different, the patterns and the timing, and sometimes the harder you work, the more you get yourself out of position. And so the indoor game is a veteran's game. And so coming in as a young guy, everybody would say, oh, I think you can make it, but you just need experience. But you can't get that experience unless you get on the team. And so super talented players would make it. And guys like me who were just more of grinders, who were just trying to fill roles and defend and play simply. It was, there's a whole glut of guys trying to do that. So I got cut from a bunch of teams, and I really pushed the limit of what was acceptable. I mean, I would walk into a practice facility and just say, hey, I had a professional soccer team, and say, hey, I'm here for the tryout. And they'd say, there is no tryout. I'd be like, well, I came all this way. Can I just jump in with you guys and then get a run for a couple days and try and pick up some stuff? And my first real contract that I got, it was there's this team, the Detroit Rockers, and they were playing in St. Louis. St. Louis had back-to-back games, and so I went to the St. Louis game the first night, and then I figured Detroit would be in town watching them play. So I've been training with St. Louis. Their owner didn't want to spend any more money, so he wouldn't sign anybody. And so I had no options left, but this Detroit team showed up, and I knew so they were playing the next night. I knew they'd be watching the game. And so I went in the crowd. I was walking around this huge arena. I think it was Kemper Arena, and trying to find their coach. And I saw him, and he was sitting amongst 20 guys. So picture a whole, 3 rows of soccer guys sitting just watching a game, and the coach is in the middle of all of them. And I just went for it. I just climbed over all the players and made somebody move. And I was like, "Hey, coach, I want a shot." I mean, it's an embarrassing memory. And he was like, he was distracted and just said, "Oh, we're not signing anybody else this year. The signing deadline was the next Friday." And I said, "Coach, I really just want a shot. I really want to come and train with you guys. I want to try out." And he said, "I'm telling you, we don't have any spots open." And then I just said it again. And finally he said, "Well, what position do you play?" I said, "I'm a defender." He said, "We're all full of defenders." I said, "I'm a forward." He said, I wouldn't leave him alone. And finally, he just wanted to watch the game. He said, "You can come to practice next week." So I drove up from St. Louis to Detroit, and it was my last chance to make it for the season. I had been training 2 years without a contract and just bouncing from teams, and went into the practice and just went for it, and had, I played forward, and it was the first time I played forward really in my life, and had a couple of fortunate plays go my way. And at the end of the week, he pulled the kid out of the locker room. He cut the kid, and he signed me to a contract right there in front of all. So imagine this kid walks out of the locker room with all his buddies. He calls this kid over, he cuts him, and then all their teammates are looking at me like, "We're gonna, you just ruined our friendship. You just ruined our friendship here, buddy." But eventually, I ended up playing for those guys for a couple of years, and it was a wild sacrifice, and it took a lot of commitment to do it. But I was grateful to have done it.
No, that's awesome. It's one of those things for the players that, I read in your book about getting cut from some 20-some different teams, and then you have kids at a young age that may get cut from a U12, U13 team, and they take it so hard. And I've actually been cut from teams too, but it's all about how you handle it. You keep working and don't just let that one setback. I wouldn't even call it a failure. It's just a coach didn't recognize your talent at the time, and something about persistency, speaks volumes to coaches.
Well, it's almost always the best players are going to make it, right? It's the middle grade players, and you got a 20-man roster, last 3 or 4 guys. So I was regularly in those last 3 to 4 guys, and man, I just had some heartbreaks. But yeah, I mean, I took it. I wouldn't say I didn't take. I had some cuts when I was younger. I got cut from like my childhood team. I've been on for 7 years. We went to the national finals. Like small town Wisconsin. It was like a Disney story. We just had this little group of guys, and we somehow just got a little bit better every year. And Wisconsin's not a soccer powerhouse. And this is back in the day where this is kind of old fashioned. So you won your state, and then you went to the regional, and whoever went to the regionals went to the national finals. And we ended up going just on this unbelievable run and just winning all these games in a row. One goal game. Got to the national finals and lost in a shootout to this team from California, who's their goalkeeper was Joe Cannon, who ended up going on being one of the greatest MLS goalkeepers. And we killed him. And Joe Cannon played unbelievably. And so we still had a year of under 19 eligibility left, and it's all my best friends. It was my whole life, all my clothes. But once we made it to the national finals, got a game on national TV, there were more players that wanted to come. And so I got cut from like my childhood team. And I was devastated. I got a letter in the mail cutting me, and I framed it and put it on my wall. And, it's those failures take you to a different place. We all want to win, and most of us hate to lose, but sometimes those failures can get so deeply between your teeth that you'll just do anything to get rid of it. And so for me, I trained like crazy. I mean, I just tried to get so fit and never backed out of a tackle, and ended up putting together a nice little career after that.
No, it's cool. Like, it's part of the book I read, it speaks volumes to me as a player and coach that when you hate losing more than you love winning, and I'm not that kind of coach and that kind of player. And I think that some of the greatest wins I've had as a player and coach, they're great and all, but it's those 2 or 3 losses that just will eat you up the rest of your life.
Yeah, and it can be the same thing individually, right?
Yeah,
I journaled a lot when I played, and I went back and read one of my Kixx journals, and someone said something really flattering, like, you were the best player on the field tonight. I don't even remember the game, but I can remember all the mistakes I made that year. The game that I wrote about, we won, and I must have played well in. But I'll tell you, like, Dennis and Cabral got me on a one-on-one wide out and just did this inside-out move and toe poked it upper corner. And I could tell you, you don't want to go through all these, but I know them all. Like, as a professional, any goal that was my fault, I can ramble off.
No, it's true. It's funny when you do what you're supposed to do. Your mind's just clicking, and you're a machine. You know, it's the whole thing. When my team's doing what they're supposed to do, as a coach, I don't got to say much, you know. But then when things are a little bit out of control as a player or coach, that's the part that starts driving you. You know, me, you know, in my mind, you know, up the wall mentally, and then even as a player mentally, that you have to have almost that short-term memory, especially in the indoor game, man. You're talking games that you give up 30 goals a game. You got to have a short-term memory, especially if you're a defender.
Oh, it's metal. You know, it's the walk back to the bench. The indoor and outdoor is so different, right? Outdoor, you make a mistake, the ball starts right back up. You're probably not going to get pulled and have to walk off the field. But indoor soccer, kind of the etiquette is if you make a mistake, you come to the bench, and then you've got about a minute to find your medal, and then you've got to go back on the field and play. And there's no guarantee, and there's actually probably more of a likelihood that you're going to give up another goal or make another mistake. And it's hard for me to even put that into words, but those times on the bench of just finding your inner great grandfather, where you're just like, I'm just leaning there saying, you got to be a man. I'm whispering to myself, you got to be a man. Like, you just got to go back out there and you got to just crush. You just got to tackle guys. You cannot make a mistake, because the only thing worse than giving up a goal in a game is giving up 2 goals. I saw a guy one time, a good player. He gave up 5 goals in one game. When I was in college, I don't know that I think 1 goal was specifically my fault. A guy had me wide, and I can list it. In indoor, you can have that in a quarter. You know, you can have that in just a few minutes. You can give up a couple goals, obviously, because there's so many more goals. But you have to be able to let that stuff go. And I don't know that I was great at letting it go. And, you know, the really, really successful players just brush it off and drive through it. But I have a very sticky mind. And so I tend to get a little bit obsessed about I'm a perfectionist. It's not perfect. And that's a tough place to be. And so, you know, that'll drive you to work as hard as you can to be successful, but it can also just be a little bit haunting, where, you know, you dwell on the mistakes you make, and can be, you certainly don't want to live in fear of making another mistake. That's a tough place to play. So you got to kind of stand on that line.
Yeah, the indoor game is such an exciting thing that, you know, I was able to fortunately call some of your games on television when you were with the Pennsylvania Roar. And it is an eye-opening type of game for, you know, players who think that they're in shape. Holy moly, the fitness, you know, the level, because it is very much like ice hockey. You're only doing a couple minute shifts on and off, on and off. And I think that's got to be a huge adjustment just, you know, on your body, the quick wear and tear on this old school turf.
Yeah, we would have outdoor players that would come and they would just puke. You can't. I mean, outdoor soccer, you're sprinting, but you're gliding a lot of times. It's 90% short sprints, and then you're walking a lot.
Well, you're standing still. I ain't gonna lie to you. I stood still sometimes.
Yeah, indoor soccer. If you're doing it, if you're a midfielder or a marking defender, you could be sprinting for a minute straight, and you know the indoor bench guys would come over the bench and be gasping for air. You know, just kind of puking up that gross phlegm, and then the change comes back and you got to jump back on there. It was so tough in a good way, because you just had to find your way through those painful moments. And I've really come to believe, you know, there's so many things that make a player a successful player. And, you know, obviously your athleticism, you've got to be athletic. You've got to be able to shut up when the coach is talking. You have to be gifted. You have to be coordinated. You have to do all those sorts of things. Fitness. You have to be injury free. But one of the things I think gets talked about the least in making a successful player is your willingness to suffer, and your ability to play with a stress fracture in your foot, your willingness to, you know, play through a mistake. It's suffering is the wrong word, because it's a very serious word, but when your coach is screaming at you, you're suffering in some way, right? Emotionally, and your willingness to go through that instead of faking an injury, or your willingness to keep playing through that and going back out. I just think it's a huge separating factor. In the NBA, you think about those guys. That there are some players who are willing to miss the last shot if they're losing by 1. They're willing to come down and jack it. And there's other guys who will only take the last shot if it's a tie game. And they just don't have the same willingness to suffer. They want to win. They don't want to lose, but you'll see some distinctions in the way people handle it and the mettle that they have in them.
No, I mean, you summed it up best there, Adam. Time flies by when you and I are talking. Definitely got to do this again. Got to spend a full hour. Again, this is my guest, Adam Bruckner on World Sports Show. Adam, I really want to thank you for taking your time out to be on the World Sports Show tonight.
Anytime. We'll do it again.